Hello. Welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I am the director of the Cyber Education and Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partner Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Last week, we started to talk about really a revisit of the Russia Ukraine conflict, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and how that impacts us from a cybersecurity standpoint. Obviously, we can see gas prices, we can see some of those things, but what does it mean from a cybersecurity standpoint? CISA, which is a federal agency that focuses on cybersecurity concerns for our nation, uh, gave a shields up warning a few weeks ago, and we need to maybe even a month ago, and we need to take that very serious. Over the last few weeks, that threat, that escalation has included even more even more concern on from CISA and others, security experts that have been monitoring what's going on. And last week, I thought it was important enough to revisit what CISA is saying, what we should be doing to make sure that we are staying safe in cyberspace. So I wanted to come back this week, talk to you about that, share a little bit about what it is that we need to be doing on a regular basis to make sure that we stay safe. Last week, I talked about some leadership and some big picture things. Today, I want to focus squarely on ransomware. I mentioned last week that there is a belief, and I think a fair belief from people that have the clearance to understand some of these things, that there is a belief that what is happening is that um, Russia is trying to make up for the money that they're losing on sanctions with ransomware. There's a lot of people that believe that, and the trends kind of bear that out. Whether or not you think Russia is going to attack your company with ransomware, the truth is, the reality is, ransomware attacks are increasing. Ransomware attacks are a problem for our business. They were a problem last year, they were a problem the year before, and it's only getting worse. So, what do we need to do to prevent and stop ransomware from getting and in fact infecting our business or disrupting our business? Or what do we need to do so that we don't have to pay the ransom? And and I listed a number of things here. I'm not going to read all this to you. Last week I had a lot of text. This week I've got a lot of text. But what I want to do is I'm trying to make sure I point out that there's a lot of text on here, because if you go to this website below, cisa.gov/stop ransomware, and this is the ransomware guide itself, um, there's a lot of information there. If you don't know where to start for your business, go to these websites. These websites are these guides that I've shared the last week and this week, and you'll see a different one on the next slide. They're not made for a cybersecurity expert. There's some things on there that a cybersecurity expert will interpret and understand differently than a lay person, a person that's not a cybersecurity trained individual. But these guides are designed so that general small business owners, IT professionals can understand this, because there's a lot that we need to do, a lot that I hope you take seriously as you watch this video and you think about some of these things. These ransomware prevention steps and tips are really important for you to think about to keep your business safe. I've highlighted a couple of them, and I'll make sure I point them out when we get to it. I'll tell you what I didn't put on this list, um, that that is probably in one of these guides that I just didn't see it this morning. Uh, is insurance. Insurance is an important piece. Cyber insurance, the cost of it is actually going up because insurance providers are losing money. There's a lot of ransomware payments that have been paid. So make sure that you consider your insurance as well. But insurance is going to require that you do some of these things that are on this list before you can even purchase it. because if you're not doing the basics, then why should they insure you for you not following best practices? That's really what's happening now in the cyber insurance realm. First, maintain an offline encrypted backup of your data and test it regularly. You've got to have backups. Uh, you've heard me say it on here before. You've got to have backups. You got to have multiple copies of your backups. But as it relates to ransomware, you've got to have an offline copy of your backup. You want to make sure that you have backups that are stored somewhere that if everything that's connected to the internet got encrypted, your backup is not going to be impacted. That's the key that you want to think about from a backup standpoint. Create, maintain, and exercise a basic cyber incident response plan. I actually just submitted my monthly column that I write for the Four Rivers Business Journal, and this year I talked about what do you do if you have a breach? What do you do if you have an incident? What do you do if you have a data breach? You got to have a plan in place. Whether it's a data breach, whether it's isolated, whether it's ransomware, whether it's widespread, whatever it is, you need to have a plan in place that's up to date, that you try, that you exercise, that you make sure that you update as you change your landscape of your topology and as your business changes. You want to make sure that you do that. Regularly patch and update software. One of the most important things is that some of these ransomware attacks are taking advantage of vulnerabilities that exist in software that we know better. We know we have a vulnerability. Update your software. We know that you need to do something about a flaw in a system. So update when the patch comes out. Make sure you do it in a secure way, in a safe way, but make sure you update. What ransomware attacks, what hackers are using in general, many times are the vulnerabilities that you have in your system that you're not patching, that you're not trying to fix. And that's what's being used. And that's how they're gaining entrance into your program. Apply the least privilege principle to all your systems. So, what does that mean? That means that you should have the least privilege necessary to do your job. You don't need extra privileges. Some companies will by default give everybody admin rights. That is not necessary in many cases. You don't need admin rights if you're just accessing the accounting software. You don't need admin rights if you're just a marketing person and you're not the system administrator. So you really want to think about what it is that you truly need to do your job. And here's the reason: from a ransomware standpoint, it's going to encrypt everything it can get access to. So if you have access because you're not applying the principle of least privilege, if you have access to more than you need, then there's more systems that are going to be affected than should be. Isolate systems, have different layers that some people call it zero trust, but have different layers internally so that if marketing gets hit with ransomware, it doesn't affect accounting. If accounting gets impacted with ransomware, it doesn't affect operations. Blocking those and isolating those networks is really going to help as well. Implement a cybersecurity user awareness and training program. If you haven't done this, then you are obviously not listening to what I talk about on 10 at 10. If you have not done that, then you have obviously not ever read my columns in the Four Rivers Business Journal, because I talk about this. Your users can be your best asset, but they're also your biggest weakness. Right now, I listened to a discussion the other day. 90 to 95% of malware is coming into your system via email right now. And most of that, back in the day, it would be a file that would be attached with malware. Well, that still happens. But what's also happening is that we're clicking the link, that we're opening files, that we're opening links, that we're opening things in email that we should not be doing. So be very careful and make sure your users know what they need to be doing. And then finally, utilize antivirus and anti-malware software and keep your signatures up to date. If you don't update your signatures, then that malware or that antivirus or anti-malware software may have a minimal impact because you're not actually searching for what the latest and greatest signatures are out there. These are some things to prevent ransomware. I'm not going to get into it, but if you go to the Shields Up website that's linked in the show description that I talked about last week, it also talks about what to do when you get hit with ransomware. You got to determine which systems were impacted. You've got to power or take them offline. I'm not sure if power down is the right answer. That's what's recommended here, but you want to make sure that you prevent the further spread of ransomware. You want to triage the impacted systems. You want to consult with your incident response team with the plan that you already created that I talked about on the last slide. You want to engage your internal and external teams and stakeholders to make sure that they can help you mitigate, respond, and recover from the attack. You want to take a system image and memory capture of the impacted devices so that maybe you can help do some forensics analysis later. And you want to consult with federal law enforcement regarding possible decryptors. There's actually some researchers that have already developed decryptors that you may not have to pay that ransom. There's a lot that you need to do. The bottom line is that if you're not thinking about it, if you're not doing anything right now, then you need to. Actually, what Drew Perry, the Chief Information Security Officer for Valvoline, he wrote a column earlier in the week, and he said that if you don't have an incident response plan, do it today. It'd be better if you did it yesterday, but at least do it today. His point is very valid. If we're not planning, if we've not already planning, well, then you may be too late. But even today is better than not doing anything. So start planning today. Make sure that you're prepared if you get hit with ransomware. If you're an innocent bystander in this Russia-Ukraine war that's going on, don't be left unprepared. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you know how to respond. I appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us on 10 at 10. And I hope that you come back next week and join us at 10 at 10. Actually, next week on Thursday, if you're interested, come join us for Security Matters. There's a link to more information in the show notes, but make sure you come joining us. It'll be a great day. It's a free conference, free luncheon. We'll have some good speakers, and I hope that you come on Thursday and then join us back here for 10 at 10 on Friday. Hope you have a good weekend, good rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.